it's Philano. It's Mark Tezzo for their astrological energy forecast. This will be for the week of April 7th to the 13th of 2025. Thank you for clicking onto my video. If you're a returning member, subscriber, or viewer, welcome back. So family, it's good to see you guys again. I hope you are doing well. Thank you for all your likes, your shares, your comments, subscribes, super thanks, and donations. I truly appreciate them all. And if you are new to the channel, welcome. It's good to see a new face here. Please keep in mind that I do pull oracle cards during this astrological energy forecast just to give you the overall theme to tap into that energy. So please know that it's a collective oracle reading, therefore the messages will not and may not resonate with everyone. So please take what resonates with you in your particular situation and leave the rest. Please don't try to make it fit if it doesn't fit. Okay, if it's not resonating with you, it just means I'm not picking up on your energy, which is perfectly okay. Now in the areas of legal, law, finance, health, mental health, please know that I'm not an expert in those areas, nor do I claim to be, and if I mention them at all, it is either what my intuition is picking up on, or it's literally on the cards themselves. And if it truly resonates with you, I highly encourage you to speak to those experts in those areas of expertise. I am also the author of the work of both fairy tales in my hand here, The Princess and Her Inner Voice, which is a fairy tale written for children about their intuition, what it is, how it speaks to them, and how if they listen to it, it can help them to overcome all obstacles, help them to heal from all traumas, as well as get them to their happy ending in whichever way that looks for them. It is a very self-love and self-worth based fairy tale. As well as The Dark High Priestess and The Prophecy of the Queen of the Unseen, this is a fairy tale written for adults about healing and overcoming spiritual warfare and narcissistic abuse from family members and friends, and how to keep that inner flame lit despite any adversity you may be going through or experiencing. And no matter how dire your situation may seem, to know that you were never alone and that you always have a choice. There's always benevolent beings that are around you just waiting for you to give them permission to provide you with guidance and to intervene and to intercede on your behalf so that way you can fulfill your soul's purpose in this lifetime. Both these fairy tales are in the bard format, which means that they rhyme. So think like Dr. Seuss meets Grimm's fairy tales. They are written and illustrated in such a way to heal and appeal to your inner child as you read them. They're short, they're sweet, they inspire hope, and they make you feel good as you read them. The audiobook has been released for both books and can be found attached to this video for convenience as well as on my channel. However, if you wish to purchase the physical copies, you can find them on online retailers at Amazon, Walmart, and Barnes & Noble, just to name a few. The Princess and Her Inner Voice is in the second edition print, which means that the autographed first edition as well as my products can be found on my website, which is www.aspiraltotheself.com. All of the information in the description box below for your convenience, as well as all my social media platforms and pages, so that way you do not get scammed by people or pages pretending to be me. As always, I begin each reading and forecast with a prayer. You wouldn't believe how people utilize energy and technology these days. I call upon God, Bandra, Great Goddess Morgan, the 23, Lu, the Archangels, my ancestors, and the sea unseen. Please only allow in this reading and forecast what I call upon, which is high vibrational energy and frequency. If any low vibrational entities, beings, or energies try to come through or try to astral project, open a portal, remove, you'll be monitoring spirit in the past, present, or in the future, I ask that you block, bind, and blind, and immediately return to sender, at which I give you full consent to intervene and to intercede on my behalf, whichever way you deem fit. Please allow me to see what the collector to know, provide clear, concise messages. If any try to abuse technology in any kind of way, in the past, the present, or in the future by trying to take a screenshot, astral project, open a portal, remote, view, or be a monitoring spirit in the set, I ask that you block, bind, and blind, and immediately return to sender, once you give you full consent to hold them accountable and bring them to justice in your way. Please protect me, this channel, the video, and the viewers as I deliver this divinely guided message. Any curses, hexes, evil eye, black magic, witchcraft, and bindings, that they be dissolved, transmuted, and enter beam up by the All-High. The sender's mask ripped off, they'll be unable to hide. All their lies, deceit, and ill intentions will become exposed and publicly known. Let's break down the astrological events for this week. Okay, so we have the background energies, which is the retrograde energies. Both of the planets that are currently in retrograde are going to be stationing direct this week. Okay, we have Mercury retrograde, which literally stations direct on April 7th. And then we have Venus retrograde, which stations direct later on in the week. That leaves two asteroids, two of the major asteroids that are still in retrograde. So we have Vesta retrograde, which will be in retrograde until June 14th of 2025. This is a time of introspection and uncovering truths of our purpose, which is heavily influenced in this week. Then we have a Juno retrograde, which will be in retrograde until July 10th of 2025. This is where we are moving away from traditional expectations in relationships. Now let's get into the weekly energies, which this can last from, over 48 hours to a couple weeks. So we've had the stellium in Pisces been going on since essentially the end of January of 2025, and it's slowly transitioning into the zodiac sign of Aries. However, this week it's prevalent with just Pisces. So all week, we are going to be overcoming a karmic lesson, following our intuitive promptings and listening to our intuition over any logic that may contradict it. So a highly intuitive time where we're trusting our intuition above all else as we further align with our purpose to manifest our spiritual idea with a pure mindset when it comes to our relationships and expressing ourselves in a creative way. So Spirit, what are these intuitive promptings? What is this intuitive prompting? No, hold on, let me do this. Deck. I have two different decks because some of it has to do with emotional wounds, and I want to dive deeper into that for you guys. Spirit, what is the intuitive promptings the collective is going to get? Let there be confirmation. Spirit's listening, because my tablet just went off and went on like I was talking to it when I'm not. It's crazy, a tablet can respond to being called spirit. It's pretty wild. Spirit, what kind of intuitive promptings are the collection going to be listening to this week when it comes to overcoming a karmic lesson that they need to listen to above all logic? So we have the Ascended Masters here. So if you don't know what an Ascended Master is, think like Jesus, Buddha, Kuan Yin. Listening to some kind of guidance from the Ascended Masters when it comes to either finding a solution or getting justice. Okay, that's very heavy in the energy right now, especially during the collective tarot readings. It's like there's a lot of karmic debt here to be repaid with so many individuals, and you're being told to listen to your intuitive promptings when it comes to either finding a solution or to get justice in some kind of way. In the collective tarot readings, it's been about court cases popping up, meaning like there's lawsuits from people defaming, defrauding, slandering, smear campaigning, assassinating characters, things like that, or getting caught up for, vile deeds, things like that. So you're being told to listen to your intuition over any and other kind of messages that you receive, because it will be the most reliable, as well as it's to essentially propel you further into your purpose. That way you can manifest a spiritual idea. A spiritual idea could be like literally anything. Again, if you've been hoping for justice, or if that is what you're trying to manifest, that's what you need to do, and to keep your mind pure. Which, keeping your mind pure when it comes to that, like with that Venus and Pisces energy, it means like believing in the power of love and like not being tainted by, biases or, past events that you've had that would make you put a shield around your heart. Okay, it's like the whole love is love, kind of energy, very dreamy, very childlike, where you don't think that like you're loving without condition. You don't have any fear of being hurt or things like that. So as long as you keep your mentality in that way, you're going to be manifesting this justice. Okay, so it's coming in and expressing yourself in a creative way. As well as all week this week, there will be a struggle purposely put on our path to help us overcome whatever is keeping us from being our most authentic self, which is what is required in order for us to revolutionize our lives in some kind of way. So essentially, there is something that is preventing you from being your most authentic self. And in order for you to revolutionize your life in some kind of way, you have to fully step into your power, fully be your most authentic self unapologetically. Okay, being your most authentic self, unapologetically. I don't know why I'm struggling to say that word, unapologetically. Yeah, maybe that's it, because channeling this, when it comes to this message, it's like maybe you may feel like you can't express yourself, or maybe you stop yourself before you say things, because this is a time period, you have Mercury and Pisces, of expressing yourself in a creative way, and maybe you fear that people won't listen to what you're saying, or you try to stop yourself, things like that. So let that be confirmation if that is something that you resonate with, okay? But we have to be fully in our power and expressing our truths in order to revolutionize our lives, okay? So we're going to figure out with my card deck here what exactly is holding us back from attaining that. This is a character-affirming event where we will not benefit from any kind of protection, okay? This is something that is required for you to essentially to have some kind of growth, to level up, okay? Where we will need to find strength, our tenacity, be sociable and optimistic as we express our spiritual ideas that we are intuitively guided to express in a creative way. So again, maybe you have some ideas that your intuition has provided you with, and you're just scared to express them. You're scared that someone's going to reject them, like the fear of rejection, things like that. And you need to get over that, okay? You need to be fully yourself. Whatever you, imagine, okay, put it to you this way. What if you have $1 million idea or a multi-million-dollar idea, but you're scared of being rejected because, maybe you're the first one. You'd be the pioneer of this. And it hasn't been done before, and everybody around you is just going to tell you that it's not realistic, or give you every kind of you know, advice that would tell you not to pursue it, but you are meant to be that pioneer that's going to bring you a lot of wealth, but you haven't done it yet because you're still, you know, looking for external validation. You know, like that's what this is giving. Spirit, what is keeping the collective from being their most authentic self? What is keeping the collective from being their most authentic self? Keeping the collective from being their most authentic self in order to revolutionize their lives. Okay. So Spirit says reevaluation, hardening your heart, sharing your gifts, and false assumptions. Okay, so it's a lot here, but let me break it down for you. So why you are scared to be your most authentic self, okay, is because you're reevaluating things that have happened in the past and you're making changes, okay, because whatever has happened in the past when you shared your gifts with other people caused some kind of emotional upset, like betrayal, anger, sadness, okay, something here that you saw some very ugly characteristics in other people and it made you reevaluate. You're like, nope, don't want to do that again. Look where it got me last time, okay? Because you can either, okay, with karmic lessons here, you can either learn the lesson and move on, or you can get angry and bitter. And this is something that made you be kind of angry and bitter about sharing your gifts. But you're not going to see any kind of movement in your life until you share your gifts. So it's like you had to learn the lesson, which the lesson here would probably be fear of rejection. Or it could be like, you know, fear of abandonment, which would go into fear of rejection. But it's also seeking external validation, like needing the support of other people when you yourself are enough and complete and whole as yourself, okay? So Spirit's telling you to stop making false assumptions, okay? Stop believing false things that further lead you to making false actions. You're prejudging the circumstance. Stop prejudging the circumstance. You need to step fully into your power. You need to share your gifts. Whatever happened in the past that made you like stop, you know, and because it led to some kind of upset, some kind of anger, some kind of betrayal, whatever that was, you need to get over that. You need to learn the lesson and move on. But you're being told not to prejudge the set of circumstances. That whatever you went through here, it was just a misunderstanding. And that actually shows up later in the week, actually the very end of the week, where it's like maybe you were too emotional over an issue, or you took something that was very impersonal, very personally, okay? You're being told not to prejudge the circumstance, that you need to share your gifts. Essentially, the events are lining up for you to do so, and you just got to have the gumption to go after and get it, okay? Because again, this is going to shower you with a lot of blessings. Boon, okay? Heaven is rushing in and showering you with blessings. Open your heart to receive, but you got to get over whatever it is that you need to get over, okay? When it comes to something that happened before when you shared your gifts. Something that happened before when you shared your gifts, it like left a bad taste in your mouth. You need to get over that, because you need to get over that because essentially there's some kind of idea here that's going to bring you a lot of blessings, a lot of success, a lot of abundance. But you got to essentially be in that Chiron energy where you transmute that pain into blessings for you. You just got to get over it. And then here's the blessings, here's the abundance that you've been wanting. You just got to step into your power and seize it, right? Seize the day. You got to do that. So on April 10th to the 11th, we will have the opportunity to put our talents of being playful and optimistic and finding strength through our tenacity to good use as we express our spiritual ideas and visions creatively in order to revolutionize our lives, okay? So what kind of spiritual ideas are spiritual ideas will the collective be expressing? How to heal. The divine presence in your life telling you how to heal. You're healing light. Maybe that's sharing your light with other people. Maybe you could be a healer, a starseed, a chosen one, an earth angel, a shaman, something like that. But using the divine, 444 is the angel number for the angels of protecting and guiding you. How you use the divine to help you heal. Share your ideas and express it creatively. And then on April 11th to the 13th, there will be a high energy for us to take action, be assertive, and find strength through our tenacity in order to overcome the obstacle of making the changes needed to transmute a wound and a blessing in our lives. What is this wound, Spirit, that the collective needs to transmute? What is this wound that the collective needs to transmute towards the end of the week? What is this wound that the collective needs to transmute towards the end of the week? Conscious living. Okay, so you need to make changes when it comes to your diet, to exercise, essentially your overall well-being, okay, in order for you to be able to reach your full potential. Because right now you have unlimited potential, but right now there's some kind of changes that you need to make essentially to improve your overall quality of life, your well-being, your health, things like that. You need to make changes there. And that you're going to have signs, okay? So look around for the signs. The answers are right in front of you. So when it comes to transmuting this wound, it's all about, improving your overall sense of well-being, making those changes. Maybe in order for you to transmute this wound, you need to release a stored up trauma that is within the body through exercise, through diet, because that's definitely a thing. Trauma can be stored in the body, and when it comes to like Reiki and massage, like therapeutic massage, they can literally, when they massage, you're removing some of that stored up trauma. Because how I would describe it would be that, like, say for instance, like lower back pain, that's a root chakra issue. Whatever it is, like whatever kind of stress you have when it comes to your stability, your family, things like that, you repress it and you store it into your lower back, which therefore you would go to someone for massage or for Reiki to help you to remove that pressure, that tension back there. You have stored up, pent up trauma back there that you need to release, and part of that is like somatic, like massage. Some of that is, healing in that way to remove that trauma, but also can be done through exercise. So that's why exercise is important. So there's something here when it comes to the way that you live, the changes that you need to make with your overall life that you need to look into to essentially, in order for you to reach your unlimited potential, because you have unlimited potential, but there's something that needs to be done first when it comes to that. So now let's get into the daily energies. So again, at the very beginning of the week, Mercury stations direct on April 7th, as well as Venus conjunctions with Saturn. Something is coming to an end, so something new can take its place when it comes to stress from karmic lessons surrounding our self-worth. Our mindset of dreamy and pure love, as well as expressing it with the people we have a relationship with, it has unlimited potential as long as we uphold our boundaries and follow our intuitive promptings when it comes to those individuals. So again, it's like we're done with Mercury retrograde, it's an end of that, but now we are in a new set of karmic lessons. Okay, my nose is really itching, so let that be confirmation for you, because when I'm really channeling something, like my nose will itch and it won't itch any other time. And it doesn't, like if you watch all my videos, it doesn't happen in every video. It's just sometimes, like it just, So that'd be confirmation. Somebody really needs to hear this today, that we have overcome the karmic lessons surrounding our self-worth when it comes to like over giving, being, pouring from an empty cup, or, giving too much of ourselves to other people. Okay. Now we're in that Venus and Pisces energy where love is love is love. We have that dreamy love, that pure love, like that innocent love, where we don't like fear someone's going to hurt us. We just go, oh, it's love. Let me show it. Let me express it. Okay, you can do that. But because you went through those karmic lessons, now you know that you can love in that way unconditionally, without any expectation of a reward or it to be returned to you, because you know the lesson to keep boundaries, right? To keep boundaries, but also to listen to your intuition when it comes to those specific individuals. Okay, like if your intuition is telling you not to further invest in that person, don't invest in that person. If your intuition is telling you that, hey, like this person isn't good for us overall, you need to distance yourself, you need to do that. So essentially this whole karmic lesson with Saturn and Pisces is all about, a karmic lesson where we need to listen to our intuitive promptings, but also it's a karmic lesson stemming around our self-value, our self-worth. So maybe in the past you were ignoring all of your intuitive promptings when it came to individuals, and that's why you ended up getting hurt in that way when it came to your own self-worth, okay? So you can love however you want to love now, but now you're going to love with boundaries and listening to your intuition when it comes to those individuals. April 8th, Venus sextiles Uranus and Sun semi-quintile Uranus, and the moon will be in Virgo. There's great potential in your current situation where you can utilize the creative energy while being flexible. So there's a lot of creative energy here. However, you're going to need to be flexible. There are many opportunities to pay attention to the details, our intuitive nudges, the people we have a relationship with whenever we struggle with loving so deeply and want to be of service to them while retaining equality in the relationships. Again, like what I just said, like equal give and take. You have unlimited potential here with how you can love. Your heart chakra is open, and now you can love however you want to love. But it's like, pay attention to your intuition. Is this person taking advantage of your kindness? Are you being in the tarot community, are you being in that Queen of Cups energy where you're overly empathic and nurturing and you just want to give, but you're not getting it back? Like, you're essentially, people are using you as a crutch. People are using you to nurture them, but you're not getting it back in return. Is that the kind of energy you're in? Okay, so there's a lot of potential here. You just need to be flexible. You need to listen to your intuition, okay? Because you may have struggled with that in the past. Like, well, when do I love unconditionally and just, give as I want to give? Or is the person taking advantage of me? I don't want them to get the wrong idea. Like, I don't want them to depend on me for everything. You see this a lot, like with kids, with like marriage, things like that, when it comes to like family members, things like, I want to be there for you, but I also don't want you to make you codependent on me. And I want it to be an equal exchange where we're both giving to each other equally. And it's not just one person continuously pouring into another and not getting it back. April 10th, we will have a multi-planet opposition. So multiple planets will be in opposition this day. Our intuitive focus will be to pay attention to the details as well as to the service of others. However, this will have a negative effect on us as we get further into alignment with our purpose, taking actions on our visions, expressing ourselves creatively with a purity of mind as we are learning from the karmic lesson of following our intuitive promptings. Again, that's very heavy this week of following our intuitive promptings. Again, like, just we've learned that lesson, and now we're in a new time period of tests. Essentially, of, okay, well, you learned the lesson, now let's apply it. Let me put you in the same kind of situation. Let's put you in this like little scenario here and see if you truly did learn the lesson. You need to listen to your intuition. Trust it above all else. Like, the answers that you want, that you need, are within you. And like, paying attention to the details, paying attention to what other people need from us is going to have a negative effect on us, okay? Again, like, if you don't have boundaries, if you aren't listening to your intuition on if you should give or not give to people, it's going to have a detrimental effect to you being further into your soul's purpose. So again, you need to really pay attention to your intuition. On April 11th, the moon will be in Libra. You may be placing too much emphasis on pleasing others and creating a false identity in order to keep yourself small enough in order for people to like you. Like, essentially, you're watering yourself down so that way people like you. You're creating a false identity. Again, it goes back into that energy where we're learning to be our most authentic self. We may struggle to be that way. We may struggle to get it out because, we've had some kind of experience in the past and we reevaluated the circumstances and tried to, well, this didn't work for me this time, I'm going to do it this way. But if we don't share gifts, we're not going to be moving ahead. Like, and that's the problem here. You had to learn the lesson of what not to do, and now you're being given the opportunity. Maybe that wasn't a good opportunity at the time. Maybe it wasn't the right time for you to share your gifts, and this is the right time. So don't prejudge the current circumstances, okay? You're coming into a period of restriction to not overextend your energies too much, as your intuition will focus on bringing peace and balance to your relationships by not settling for something because it appears to be your only option. So again, this week it's heavy, like, about like acts of service to other people, but listening to our intuition and not overgiving. Like, listening to your intuition, but like, let there be confirmation. Listening to your intuition and not being overgiving when it comes to people. When it comes to people you have relationships with, doesn't matter who it is, family, lover, or business friend. You're also being told not to settle just because it appears to be your only option, okay? You have many options out there. You just got to get out of your own self-imposed cage and limitations that you place on yourself, okay? So don't settle for it just because it appears to be your only option. Then you have April 12th, Sun conjunctions with Chiron. The energy will be favorable to acknowledge that mistakes have been made, to learn from those mistakes, and then to take the actions to make amends in order to transmute a wound into blessings. You may be either too emotional about an issue or have made something impersonal very personal. So again, transmuting that wound, and I just talked about it. Like, when it came to sharing your gifts or something, maybe you took something that was impersonal very personally, and then it just kind of made you, shrink up and go within yourself. On April 13th, we have a full moon in Libra, but also the moon will be in Scorpio. So essentially, at the very beginning of the day, the peak time is when we're going to have that full moon in Libra, but then it changes signs around afternoon into Scorpio, which is the detriment sign for the moon. Venus goes direct and Saturn conjunctions with the North Node. We're At the beginning of the day, our intuition will focus on bringing peace and harmony to our relationships. However, in the afternoon, the energy will be disharmonious to essentially being intimate with people, being around people, or investigating something. It's going to be a highly introspective time where you're going to want to be alone, okay? Experience stress as we are further aligning with our purpose, reaping what we've sown, and learning the karmic lessons surrounding following our intuitive promptings, as the answers we seek are right in front of us, okay? The answers we seek are right in front of us. So the chakra that coincides with the energies this week is the throat chakra, okay? I know it's been coming up a lot, that and the third eye, but it is what it is, okay? So the throat chakra is our ability to define ourselves in the world. It's useful for manifesting and self-protection. It is the chakra of our willpower, our strength of will, and spiritual karma, because it is the chakra of choice, of saying yes or no to life's options. It's the vehicle of our soul's expression, provides options in the form of dreams and intuition, and we say yes or no to these options. Again, highly intuitive time, but it actually goes through your throat versus your third eye, because your throat chakra is how you honor what you believe in, how you honor yourself, speaking your truth, again, being in your power, okay, not being deterred because you want people to like you or things like that, being your most authentic self and speaking your truth, okay? It uses sound to express experiences, needs, and emotional states. It's our center of clairaudience, which means clear hearing, ability to speak to ourselves psychically, spirit guides, and people. So you can also get intuitive messages from your spiritual team, your ancestors, okay? Also your higher self. Fears of this chakra are related to our willpower, okay? So if this chakra is out of misalignment or malfunction, it has to do with our willpower. Strengths, though, of this chakra is self-knowledge, personal authority, keeping our word to ourselves and others, as well as our faith. Because, if your word ain't shit, you ain't shit, okay? Just saying. The yang function of this chakra is expressing and voicing our truths. The yin function of this chakra is attuned to receiving guidance. Problems. This chakra is out of misalignment or malfunction. There can create some kind of disorders in the throat. You can have the feeling of victimization, the inability to say yes or no, which can result into physical ailments like chronic sore throat, mouth ulcers, scoliosis, laryngitis, swollen glands, and raspy throat. All illness has a connection to this chakra as choice is involved. Again, like it said that we needed to pay attention to our health, our overall well-being, making those changes in order to transmute a wound into blessings. So, making those changes, like if your diet or exercise, maybe you need to exercise more. Maybe you need to tweak your diet a little bit. I know I do that all the time. I tweak my diet all the time. Just doing whatever makes you feel the best, okay? And not I'm not saying whatever makes you feel the best in an altered state, I'm not saying get drunk or high or things like that. Whatever makes you feel the best. Just living in your truth and living in your power. Not having any kind of chemical substances that regulate how you feel, which I know people out there have that and need that for certain things. Like say if you have a mental illness or things like that, I understand. I'm not talking about that. But say if you don't have those, what makes you feel good? Doing the things that make you feel good, increasing your overall sense of well-being. Addictions, if the chakra is out of misalignment or malfunction, is oral fixation, like overly talking. Like these people have diarrhea of the mouth, meaning they always have to be saying something, or they always have to be putting things in their mouth, like gum, like dip, like always having a beverage to sip on, always eating, munching and crunching on things, especially on salty foods. These people, if you are experiencing this, it means that there's some kind of truth that you are not expressing that is needed, and you are dishonoring yourself. Your own body feels dishonored by what you're doing, and it's manifesting by way of you eating a lot or over drinking or over talking or whatever, because it's trying to compensate for what you're not doing that it needs to be done. I hope I was able to provide you some clarity of what you're going to typically know, as well as what to expect during this week. Okay, so remember, self-care is self-love. Most definitely be taking care of yourself, make yourself a priority. especially when it comes to your boundaries and, you know, determining whether or not you should give or do things for other people. Make sure you're listening to your intuition. If you like my vibe in this video, please like, share, and subscribe. It definitely helps out the channel. Please stay tuned for a brief little snippet of the Dark High Priestess and the Prophecy of the Queen of the Unseen.